For all intents and purposes, the Carolina Panthers are having a good start to their offseason. We know priority number one was getting a head coach, and they had a solid, safe hire with Frank Reich. A stark contrast to Matt Rule, who was inexperienced, who had not much NFL level experience. Frank Reich has experience at different positions from wide receiver coach, offensive coordinator, to even a head coach. However, with new coaches, that means new systems. And with new systems, that means new players to fit that system. Obviously, transitioning from one squad to another is tough for coaches, so they like to bring in players they have background with to get some of their guys. Now, I don't expect it to be a complete overhaul, but I do expect to see some free agents come that have some background with these coaches as they help to try to ingratiate this system with some of the younger guys on this team. So in this video, I want to talk about what potential free agents are out there that have some background with some of our coaches that could potentially be a good fit for the Carolina Panthers in the 2023 season. With all that being said, let's start right now. What up, dude? My name is Aaron Duncan here with the Necessary Bluntness Sports Talk. I do recap and analysis of the Carolina Panthers and the NFL. So I do draft content, film breakdown, news and updates just like this. So if you don't want to miss anything about the Panthers and you want to stay in the loop, hit the subscribe button down below and the bell icon so you get a notification every time I drop a video. And also, take one quick little second, give the video a thumbs up because it really helps me out in the algorithm. Only takes about 2 seconds from you. So I really appreciate your quick little piece of time and helping me out in this YouTube grind. But like I said, there's going to be free agents hitting the market from the former teams. Obviously, Ejiro Evero came for the Broncos. And with the Broncos bringing in a new coach, some of those guys could be leaving as well. So there's guys in the market there. Indianapolis, where Frank Reich just left from, there's potential there. But Ejiro Evero also won a Super Bowl with the Rams. So there's some possible players there as well. So let's go ahead and get into all these potential possibilities and why I think they could be a piece to help us, and for a special price, maybe that can come true. Let's go ahead and get into it. So the first free agent target on my list is Alex Singleton, an inside linebacker from the Denver Broncos. Now, Singleton has been a starting inside linebacker for the Broncos defense under Evero this past year. He had over 157 tackles. He's been a fifth-year pro. He was an undrafted free agent, played for Seattle, spent some time, but over these past few years, he's been a tackling machine. And playing for Evero last year, it could be somebody they potentially bring into Carolina. As I talked about in my salary cap video, Shaq Thompson could potentially be a cap casualty and be released. To bring in somebody experienced that knows the system, Alex Singleton could be that guy. He'll be very affordable. And like I said, he could be a solid piece to add to the room if they wanted to keep Shaq anyway, because I personally think Frankie Louvu will be playing more on the edge and moving around a lot more instead of being one of those true inside linebackers that you see in a traditional 3-4. So being able to pair Alex Singleton with Shaq Thompson sounds like a recipe for success. But the value is really unclear on what he may cost, but he could possibly be brought in for the vet minimum. He played for $1 million this past season, and he pretty much overachieved that. But over the cap has a projected evaluation of $9 million. So that's a big gap between $1 million and $9 million. But if he wanted to come play for the vet men and play for a guy who he had a career record tackles with last past year, Alex Singleton could be a target for the Carolina Panthers at linebacker. Target number 2 is Draymond Jones, defensive end out of Denver. Now, we know the Carolina Panthers are going to probably transfer to a base 3-4, but Evero, the defensive coordinator, runs a multiple-like system. However, there's still going to be some overhaul that needs to be done probably to our linemen up front. We needed some new bodies anyway. Obviously, we have our core players with Brian Burns and Derek Brown, but we still need some different body types and guys to come in that can help run this system. And Draymond Jones is that guy. He's a good pass rushing DN, and Lord knows we need pass rushing. He's not a stand-up edge guy. He's a traditional 3-4 down lineman who's, like I said, who had 7 sacks last year. He's not going to bring much into the running game, but we have a rotation for a reason. We could bring this guy in, and he can help bring us some juice from the inside. Right now, according to Spot Track, one of your favorite salary cap websites, they have him valued at an approximate 3-year, $22 million contract on the market, which is $7 million a year. Not really entirely too bad. The Panthers just paid $9 million per year to Matt Ioannidis, and I think Draymond Jones is going to bring you a little bit more in the pass game, maybe not so much in the run game at all like Ioannidis, but I think Draymond Jones could be a solid piece for this team to help get after the quarterback, and you can never have too many pass rushers. Next, I'm going to butcher his name, but Bobby Okereke. linebacker out of Indianapolis from the Colts. So obviously Frank Reich left during the season, and there was some talk about possibly getting Gus Bradley, but it seems like Gus Bradley may stick around as the defensive coordinator in Indianapolis. So that system will be that. However, Bobby Okorie is another inside linebacker. Like I said, this is in the consideration if they wanted to pair somebody up with Shaq or if they were looking for Shaq's replacement. That he doesn't have experience with a Vero system, but obviously he has that background with Frank Wright. He had his first chance to really get a chance to shine as a starter with Shaquille Leonard being in and out of the lineup for the Colts, who's one of the best linebackers in the league. But he finished with 148 tackles this year. He's great against the run. His cover skills could use some improvement, but I think with a little bit more experience, he could improve theirs, but he still leaves something to be desired there. But against the run, day one, he's going to be a great piece for that linebacking core. And so he's another guy, like I said, he's pretty cheap. His market value, according to what I saw, is a 3-year, $25 million contract, which is around $8.5 million per year. Obviously, we know Shaq's cap hit is in the 19, 24 something million dollars. Regardless of what happens, that number for Shaq will come down. But how much, what is the gap? That's the question you have to ask. If you're going to get rid of Shaq, who are you going to replace him with, and how much money are you going to save, and is it worth that saving? If you can only going to save $2 or $3 million off of getting rid of Shaq for a guy that may not have as much experience or may not be as good with Shaq against the pass or the run, the juice may not be worth the squeeze. So these are the things that you have to balance out. But I do like Bobby Okereke, whatever his name. I'm sorry, I hate butchering guys' name, but this guy could be a solid piece to add. Not too expensive, but this is more of a thing. If you wanted to get rid of Shaq, this is a guy that you could plug in. The next guy on this list coming from the Indianapolis Colts is Paris Campbell, wide receiver. So he was a solid wide receiver for the Colts, but he definitely had issues staying injured for most of his career. This past year, he actually stayed healthy and racked up 63 receptions, 623 yards, and 3 touchdowns. We know that mess in Indianapolis was a total disaster, but at the same time, Paris Campbell is a solid wide receiver that can play in the slot. And the Panthers are looking for some more dynamic action in that slot position, as Scott Fitter has put on record. We know we have Terrace Marshall Jr., who plays outside but can play inside as well. We got DJ Moore. We need a third wide receiver. Paris Campbell could be very cheap since he has some issues staying healthy. He may be a guy that is experienced in the right system and wants to continue to do that and can probably take a flyer deal on him, maybe a 1-year cheap deal just to prove it. So maybe $2.5 million is what I'm seeing as his market value off of 1-year contract because of those injuries. I think it would be a decent idea to kick the tires on Paris Campbell. Personally, though, I think the Panthers should go by way of draft to get that slot wide receiver because there's a lot of speed and dynamic ability in this draft in terms of the slot. But Paris Campbell is still a receiver that's been productive at times for what he's been asked to do as a wide receiver 3, and he has experience with Wright and familiarity. Wouldn't be a bad idea to bring him in. Next up, A'Shawn Robinson, defensive tackle from the Los Angeles Rams. So let's just be clear. A'Shawn Robinson is 6'4", 330 pounds. This guy is huge, huge. And as the Panthers look to switch to that 3-4 hybrid, we all know that you may need a guy on the inside that play nose tackle. That's in the middle of that 3-4 to take up blocks, to take up double teams, to free up your linebackers, to make things happen, and to set up your defense and anchor that middle of the line. We know Derek Brown is not that guy because he moves up and down a little bit more, and he's not that big old space eater. He's a guy that can use his power and strength to get penetration. We need a big guy in the middle, and I think A'Shawn Robinson could be that guy. Like I said, he's 6'4", 330. You can't question the size. He's from Alabama, an Alabama product, and he doesn't bring much to the pass rush game, but over the last 2 seasons, Pro Football Focus has him rated as a top 12 run stopper. And when you have a big guy in the middle like that, that's exactly what you need. Remember back in the days when the Panthers had Star Lotulelei and KK Short? That puts me in the same mind of pairing A'Shawn Robinson with Derek Brown. 2 guys that can do their thing and make things happen on the inside and play off of each other and control the interior line of scrimmage. So I really do like A'Shawn Robinson. He did miss the second half of the season for the Rams because of a torn meniscus. If you ever torn your meniscus to play the sport, you know it's not the worst injury in the world. So he's expected to be 100% ready for the 2023 season without any concern. Maybe that could affect his market price and make him a little bit more affordable for the Panthers. But right now, Pro Football Focus only has him valued at $2.5 million for a 1-year deal. So I like the idea of bringing in a guy that's that big that you can bring in to anchor that line for way cheaper than some of the other interior defensive line like Ioannidis or Draymond Jones that we brought in earlier. So bringing in some of these cheaper options that can help in the transition period, I like the sound of that. And like for these prices, I mean, how can you turn that down when you have a guy like this that's a top 12 run stopper over the past 2 years? Last but not least, and this is the one I wanted to pay special attention to, Jacoby Brissett, quarterback from the Cleveland Browns. Now, we know that we need to draft a young quarterback, and for all intents and purposes, it seems like this is finally the route instead of the retreads that we wanted to do and kept doing with Matt Rule. Instead of trying to cheat the grind of not putting in the work of getting your own quarterback and developing him, we've been cutting those corners. It's time to do that now. And Jacoby Brissett could be a great bridge quarterback. He has a background with Frank Reich as he was the quarterback for the season that once Andrew Luck suddenly retired. Brissett was counted on to really steady the ship for the Colts. Had a pretty solid year. This past year, we know that he was another bridge guy filling in for Deshaun Watson for 11 games. And through those 11 games, he had 12 touchdown passes, 6 interceptions. Pro Football Focus actually had him rated as the number 6 quarterback overall, which is crazy. This is a smaller body of work, but getting top 6 quarterback play from a bridge quarterback could be great. With that history with Frank Reich and the fact that Jacoby Brissett went to North Carolina State, so he's familiar with the state and may want to come back to the Carolinas, it could be a possibility. Now, I know everybody wants to talk about Sam Darnold deserves to be the bridge and all this and that, but I just think that a more experienced 30-year-old vet like Brissett that knows the system, knows his role more than anything, can come in, have you competitive, take care of the football, win you some games until you're a rookie quarterback who may not be a day one starter if it's a Levis or a Richardson that may need some time to sit on the bench and develop. I think that Brissett is the perfect guy because you can always feel comfortable about him, and he's not going to play bad enough to the point that you just want to take him off the field. But at the same time, he can easily be replaced because he knows his role whenever it's time for our young quarterback to step up. He would be one of the highest paid backups probably because this guy had a great year, and right now Pro Football Focus has him ranked as a number 32 overall free agent prospect. So the market could be robust as he seems to be the perfect bridge quarterback. Like I said, I really prefer him over Darnold, and I think he will be worth his weight in gold. From what I hear, his contract could be anywhere from $8 to $9 million per year. I honestly think it's worth it, and you could put in some incentives there that are only based on him reaching certain stat milestones or him having to play a certain amount of playing time for him to get this salary so it doesn't hurt your salary cap too much. So I like Brissett as the bridge vet quarterback that we bring in with the quarterback room of Brissett, PJ Walker, Matt Corral, and hopefully a rookie that we draft here in April at the draft this year. You guys let me know down below in the comments, how many of these guys are you curious about? Do you want to learn more information about these guys? How do you feel about Brissett being my choice for the bridge quarterback versus somebody else or even Sam Darnold in general? Let me know how you feel down below in the comments. But without further ado, subscribe to the channel, give the video a thumbs up. I'll see you next time. Peace.